Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Challenge All Stars 4 RHAP podcast. I'm Brian Cohen. Unfortunately, Ali could not join us this week, but we are blessed to be joined by the great Rourke. Rourke, how are you?
She's so lucky. She's a star.
We're so lucky. This is great. Oh my God. So amazing to have you
No,
here.
I'm a poor substitute for Allie, but it's been a minute. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, you're usually the sub when I'm out, so it's kind of fun to have the reversal and get a chance to speak with you about the challenge right now with All Stars going on. So, but first, how's everything going with you? How's life? How's everything going on? Everything good?
It's good. Things are good. I got a dog. That's a recent update,
Nice.
but luckily he doesn't bark, so I won't have to
Okay.
scream at him
Yeah.
mid-recording like
Yeah.
you famously.
What type of dog? What do you have? Is it a puppy? What did you get?
No, it's an adult dog. He's a
Okay.
rescue mix. My mom did the DNA test for Christmas on him, so he's Chihuahua, Chow, Cocker Spaniel, and Pomeranian,
Wow, what a combo. Okay. That's
and
fun.
probably like 13 other things, but
Yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah.
the main 4.
Very nice. Well, if they make an appearance on the pod. People were asking me to bring Sunny on the pod. I feel like he's sleeping right now. So maybe
Oh,
not.
yeah, because it is video now, so they could see. Mango,
Oh,
do you wanna come up?
yeah. Yeah, put him up.
Oh, come here. Oh, this is Mango.
Oh my God, Mango's so cute.
He's
Hello.
ready to podcast.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. We'll get his opinion on a couple of things because there's a lot to
Yeah.
discuss. So 3 episodes in. This is the second week, but 3 episodes. So how you feeling? I know there's a lot of hype surrounding this season and this cast. How you feeling so far? Here we are, 3 episodes in, double elimination this week. How you feeling so far about All Stars 4?
I like All Stars. So sorry, before I get to that,
Please.
can
No,
I
please.
ask you did you watch Traitors?
I did. I did.
Okay. So something that I enjoy about that show and something that I think happens here is that the people seem happy to be there.
Yes, that is the vibe. And I think similar to Traders, I think one of the biggest things it has to do with is the commitment to it. Like Traders notoriously, I think is only 10 days, maybe at most 2 full weeks. All Stars, especially compared to Challenge Proper, is a much shorter time commitment. So I think that has a lot to do with it, probably. Like you're only going to be there at most maybe a month, I think probably All Stars is, as opposed to 3 months for the Challenge Proper. So I'd imagine that probably plays a part.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think that there's a bit of a commitment to the bit, I think, that
Hmm.
both shows have, where All Stars is sort of this we're embracing this version of ourselves. We get to
Mm-hmm.
relive this glory and kind of act out it's wish fulfillment. And then on the trader side, they clearly are given costume direction of some
Right.
kind.
Yeah.
But you have Alan Cumming chewing the scenery and you're in a Scottish, I don't know. It's just, it all works for me. Traders is my favorite thing ever. And I think shows that Johnny Bananas is not good at strategy games.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's so true. Because I do think All Stars, and I think we discussed this last week, and there is just an extra lightheartedness surrounding it. I think with Challenge Proper, especially in more of the recent seasons, they really take it so seriously. Like it is their full time job. This is what they train for year round. The show takes it so seriously sometimes. And on All Stars, especially even TJ, he's laughing, he's joking more, he's having more fun. They do more fun
Yeah.
things, like the edit sometimes. So this does feel like a place that is much more relaxed, and it comes across on the screen, which makes it a much more fun viewing experience, I think.
I totally agree. And I also like that. I think All Stars you know how people say it's a meme every time the Olympics comes around that
Mm-hmm.
they wish there was a normal person doing all the
Yep.
events alongside. That is the discrepancy we
Yeah.
have in All Stars, where you have basically professional athletes in Cara, Rachel, and Laurel.
Yeah.
And then you have just complete people off the street, basically.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's great.
And to some degree, they can compete doing the things that they do. Like All Stars, it's still physical stuff. It's still very demanding, but it's not to the degree that sometimes the Challenge Proper is. Like even the challenge today, they're just there's puzzles to solve. It's matching up dominoes. Sure, it's tiring and you have to run back and forth, but it's not something you need to be a physically trained athlete to do. Anyone could compete and do pretty well on. So
Totally.
it is kind of that good balance so far they're striking between actually physically demanding stuff, but also not overwhelmingly demanding stuff that makes it a fun thing.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Yeah. So we get things off this week. We come back to the house. Obviously, you laid it on perfectly. Tina being very happy to be re-entering the house with their star. The people we really want us to highlight the music choices that they're making. All Stars also was doing a very good job with the music choices here. They hit us with Britney Spears' Lucky. Any other key music highlights, as I'm sure we can discuss as we go through, but anything else stand out from like the music standpoint so far for this week that you noticed?
Oh, it wasn't this week, but there was a song, I think, in episode 1 that I then was like singing for the rest of the day. But no, I love the like throwback music.
Yeah.
It's great. The same way it's just a smart, again, it's like world building for this, where it's vintage MTV, where they're,
Yeah.
like the songs are having an actual place in it and resonate with you in a way that I think works versus the royalty free music on, Selling Sunset and Love
Yeah.
is Blind that is so well parodied on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but and then that is one of the always been the key differentiator between the challenge and like a Survivor and Big Brother. Like each Survivor and Big Brother have their like theme song and like their key music notes that they hit at a certain point, but they're not dropping in Britney Spears in the middle of a Survivor challenge. Like they don't do that type of stuff. So
That'd
it's kind
be
of fun
so
that
cool.
that would be a lot of fun. Although they, Taylor Swift is kind of making some cameos this season in Survivor, but like they don't have that to drop in. But the challenge, they do that all the time. They mix in different music. They used to, like, that was obviously on MTV. That was like music television, the very thing that they were trying to design to do. So it is fun that they're still incorporating that into here. But this, we get the first look at Cam and Leroy. This is a big week for both Cam and Leroy, and a little controversial. I saw, in our Facebook group, if you haven't joined, people out there haven't joined yet, please join our Facebook group. A little bit of some polarization that Cam has had through this week. A lot of people were upset about how she's kind of playing a little bit of like the mafia boss, a little bit upset if people don't go along with how, things have been going on. What has been your read, especially for Cam in particular, through 3 episodes in her return?
So, I mean, I'd like to say, first of all, it's incredible that she's doing this while pumping.
Yeah.
That is
100%.
insane. Like, holy crap, what your body is, like what I've seen my friends go through, like what your body is going through to do that is insane. And I love that they put it on television, that is happening, that they're not hiding, that is just like a natural thing that happens and what a woman has to do if she wants to breastfeed. And, not a woman can. And of course, like caveat city there, but I love that they are telling that piece of the story. I think that's really nice to see. In terms of her gameplay, I found, we can get to it later, but I found her quite obnoxious during the voting with Cara.
Yeah. I mean, Cam really came in. I think she was one of the people, most of people's excitable list of like, oh my God, Cam's here. This is so excited. And I think she's like the type of person that a lot of people didn't want to see anything wrong, like any faults in her game. And it's very interesting here coming in now. I think a lot of people have the same opinions. Like, on one hand, it's incredible that she's here. It's incredible that she's doing everything so quickly after giving birth. Obviously, like everything she has to do with there. But at the same time, being like, oh, but I don't like what she's actually doing, like in the game. Like, I love that she's here. It's incredible that she's here, but she's like kind of like being like a little bit of a turnoff in terms of how she's acting in the game. A little bit entitled, a little bit like how, like, if anyone goes against her. So it's a very odd balancing act, and I think we're going to see people on Twitter like kind of struggle juggling both thoughts. And I hope people are able to kind of like have both thoughts in their head, as you just kind of put it so perfectly, of like, it's incredible that she's here, and I love that they're showing everything she's going through, but she's in a different mental space a little bit in the game. And maybe those things gotta coincide, but it is very interesting to see how it's going to play out, how focused she is on like Leroy's protection and getting the votes in every vote in order. So that's gonna be very interesting to see how it plays out for Cam in the social media side of it almost.
Well, there's something that I think about a lot, and it's funny. I saw this on, I love Ask Reddit, and somebody said, like, somebody asked, what is the craziest family secret that got unveiled that you became aware of? And somebody said, I can't remember exactly what it was. I believe it was, I learned my uncle and his husband were the town, like, meth dealers, something like that. And then it says, I thought they just raised farm animals. And the top comment underneath it was, people can do two things.
There you go. Yeah.
And so, like, I think that's what's happening here. Like, Cam can do two things. She can
Yeah.
be a badass competitor to be having this experience and also a frustrating player. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be the theme that we're going to see throughout this entire episode. And another person that was like very high on people's list of being very excited that they were back was Tony. And in a stunning turn of events, I don't think anyone really saw this coming. Tony gets a phone call from home. His brother, I assume it's his brother Shane. I think he called him out. I don't know if he has another brother, but I assume Shane was on the line, and they didn't really go into exactly what was going on back home, but. He gets a call. He's a family emergency and has to go home. Pulls Nicole aside, and in classic challenge fashion, it's kind of like a funny scene. He's like having a very serious heart to heart with Nicole, and then there's Steve just like asleep with a sleep apnea mask in the background. This guy's making the levity of it. But if I mean, I gotta feel for Tony. He comes back after all these years. Everyone's so excited, and then obviously family comes first. Obviously, he's got like we don't know what's going on, but he has to make that tough call, and it just sucks to see him go so quickly.
Yeah, I'm a little lost in the sauce about like when this filmed. I'm having trouble anchoring myself in time.
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding is at some point he had some like custody stuff
Okay.
with not with his current partner,
Right.
but with the child he has with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I
That could be
think
it.
this might have been that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the official word as to what this
I haven't
really
either. I like
was.
really haven't pursued discourse
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so obviously this was filmed now like so long ago that like really has so much has changed, basically whatever
Why
it
was
could
it in the
be.
can for so long?
I mean, it's a great question. I think my guess is other seasons just kind of like developed and they just kept pushing it to the back burner. Like they had like the Challenge USA franchise, and then like they wanted to get to the World Championships. So this got pushed further. Then they wanted to do 30 to
Interesting.
39, and then this got pushed further. Like that's my guess. That's my read. Is like they just had other things they'd rather show. And then at least like what they've learned the lesson is they don't show these at the same time. Sometimes All Stars and the Challenge proper, I think for one of the first two seasons overlapped a little bit. So at least they're not doing that as much. But that's my guess. So they just wanted to get to the USA and then they wanted to get to like the World Championships ones.
Yeah.
And this one kind of fell by the wayside.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's just, I mean, totally my read. We'll have to get a producer to like confirm that on the other end.
It's
But
gospel.
yeah,
We're
it
good.
is.
No,
Yeah.
no further exploration needed.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Tony's gone. Very unfortunate. Very sad to see him go. And then so the other big storyline we're going to see throughout a little bit this episode, but I think this season, is Laurel and Nicole. And Caitlin G asks, is Laurel and Nicole already delving into Jordan and Tori territory? So have you gotten to the sense of already being a little tired of their relationship back and forth playing out, or have you not reached that point with them yet?
Oh, I'm fine with them, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I stole this phrase from a podcast I really like Tori and Jordan are like hetero hell. And I like this happens in
Mm-hmm.
gay and lesbian relationships as well. People
Yeah.
are horrible to each other and like let's see it. It's great.
Yeah, I haven't reached the point yet either. I never really. I don't think I ever really reached the point with Tori and Tori and Jordan either, just because they did always felt so real. Like, yeah, they were shoving it in our face a lot, but both of them were such central characters and like things that were going on that they kind of had to like shove it in our face. And I kind of feel the same way with Laurel and Nicole, especially with Laurel, because she is such a huge character in this world and she's always a huge character in whatever season it is. So anything she's doing makes even more of an impact. So, it's only been a couple episodes so far. And like if this continues for like 3 or 4 seasons, like sure, we can get to that point. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how this impacts everyone else in the house so far. Because right now it hasn't really broken out to other people. Like Jay's had confessionals about being worried about how it's going to impact his kind of relationship with Nicole, but we haven't seen it branch out yet to like specific votes. So that'll be when it kind of tips over.
Yeah, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Also, we got to see obviously Ayanna coming off last week. Little controversial stuff with everything going on with her, and then this week we see a little bit more like this. A touch into like the softer side. We get a little bit of a backstory about her connection to Rachel. Obviously, Rachel, in her time away from the challenge, really built up a huge community with her Rachel Fitness. And Ayanna was one of the customers, I guess. So really followed
What a
along.
reveal.
Yeah, I mean, she was, followed the Patreon or whatever it is, and really built up a good workout plan for herself. And was like, Rachel's the type. Ayanna was telling Rachel that she's the one that she wants to stick to. So we get the little backstory of Ayanna and Rachel's connection into this world.
Yeah, and I think that you and Ali have talked about this a lot, that the challenge really doesn't do a winner's edit. It's kind of too chaotic for
Yep.
that. And I actually think this show looks a lot like Top Chef, where it's very, very hard to read a winner's edit, but the Chekhov's guns in every episode are like deeply obvious.
Yes.
Where at the top of this episode, you have, I think, who said it? I have it. I think it's Tina saying that she, Veronica, and Rachel can all rely on each other. Interesting. And then you have Ayanna saying that she feels like she's like locked in with Rachel. And so it's like, okay, they're obviously going to go head to head, and then something's going to happen with this trio of women.
Yes.
And so like those things, I don't think those are, this show isn't subtle, shockingly, but nothing new there.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about like they kind of sometimes overly sip their hand in an episode centric perspective, but not the season long perspective. And I'm not a Top Chef guy, but is it similar to that in the sense that there really is no like jury vote, like whoever wins Top Chef is just based off like performance basically? And I think that's got to play a similar role. Like they don't need to like for Survivor, I guess because Big Brother's live, but for Survivor they need to like show justification as to why a jury is going to vote for this person to win. For the challenge, it's like whoever could run the fastest marathon or whatever it is at the end of the day. So they don't need to show justification for that. They can kind of just treat each episode kind of as its own little world. But yeah, they tipped their hand here with Ayanna and Rachel about what's going to happen with them. With Ayanna though, like who knows? This could have ended with Ayanna like causing a fight with Rachel. This one, but it was more so just like their kind of closeness connection. And I know we're going to eventually say goodbye to her, but she really made her impact.
I'm so sad she's gone.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously like Ali and I recorded last week. We didn't really know the full story as to what went down. We're still a little fuzzy, but apparently there was a lot more, even more on like the racial and political side potentially as to what caused the fight with Ayanna and Janelle as the reason that why Janelle went out. It's still all very fuzzy, but that's what makes Ayanna so tricky is like, in terms of you just watch the episodes, like she's a fascinating, like fun character on reality TV. But then if you read behind the scenes and it gets even like little in the sketchier places, that's where it's like it's a little rough. But
I admittedly have not consumed that and would not condone those things. So
no, of course,
my take is not based on that.
No, and that's what makes it so tough. Like,
episodes.
Yeah, like if you just face on an episode focused basis, she is like a fun, chaotic person that's causing all this stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see where the show goes from here going forward because she was such a huge, probably the main character, I would say, for the first 3 episodes. So now that she's going to be gone, it's going to be interesting to see where the story goes, because even like the whole premise of this whole episode again was all focused on Ayanna. So it's going to be tough to see where the show goes from here from a storytelling perspective because she was such a huge focus of that. So
yeah,
controversial, but yeah. So we go out to the challenge. Obviously, with Tony leaving, they decide to, one of the alternates pops in, and we get Cyrus coming back. Are you okay with like? Would you rather them not even bring someone out? Are you happy to see Cyrus here? Were you surprised to see someone come out?
Here's the problem. I want a sub, but the only way that works is if it is somebody that has friendships.
Yeah.
Because you cannot bring in a completely disconnected person because then there's already a preference for last in, first out.
Yep.
And so for him to be completely cut off from everyone is a complete non-starter. Like we all know where the story is going before we get there.
Yeah, it was frustrating because, and then unfortunately, like he is one of the losers in the round, so it wasn't like he even got a chance to buy himself.
It all added up.
It was just, especially as one of like the older school people, for sure. Like as Kefla, like he was already a huge target for himself, and then another like old school person that's not as politically involved as some of the newer people. So it was just a complete double whammy of like setting himself up for failure for Cyrus. And I think someone called out, but he was much smaller. I think Cyrus was much bigger the last couple of times we've seen him. Definitely trimmed down, maybe in anticipation of coming onto this season. But he was looking nice and trim coming in.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah. So the challenge for this one, Domino Mother Effer. I'm not gonna, we're on YouTube now, so I'm not gonna curse.
Yeah.
um, so that everyone's placed into pairs, or get to choose who their partner is. You have to line up 10 dominoes. There's an end domino you have to start with. You have to back into the other 10. And they add a couple of extra ones just to like keep you on your toes. So any surprises, and we got to see some strategies play out, but any interesting developments as to who paired up with who? Because they obviously
This
got
was
to
a
pick their own
horrific
pair.
challenge, and I hated every second of it.
Okay, why did you hate it?
These ones that sprawl so much real estate,
Mm,
I had no idea who was ever where with their dominoes. I had no idea who was ahead, what progress had been made. I I was so lost. And the problem is these will never work because those like the camera people on
hmm
you on challenges are so physically close to you.
Yeah,
The only way this works is 100% drone footage. But the problem is then you have all the camera people in that shot. And so that like
right.
they're never going to do that. And so like I was just I hated this challenge. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was very similar to the first one they did, basically, where like the individual one where they're all in the lanes and they had to like match up the star puzzles. It was very similar to that. This one obviously just in pairs. But to your point, yeah,
Okay,
like it
but
was.
like
Oh yeah, go.
when they're running in the lanes and it's the overhead footage, that's not them. That's stand-ins.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I didn't know. I did not know
That's
that.
like what the dream team does on Survivor. They like
Oh,
act
yeah, yeah.
out. Yeah.
Oh, so you don't think any of the footage of them with the drones, like any of it, is actually them doing it? You think
I
it's all
really
just like
don't
them?
because
Okay.
it would have all of production in the shot.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's why you're here, work. We need this behind the scenes. This is stuff we don't have if we don't have you here. Um but what about the so what else
I've
so they got
earned
to
my
pick
keep.
they got to pick their own pairs. We got to see some differing strategies. Leroy and Cam want to split up themselves to keep themselves in different things. But then we saw Nicole and Jay pair up together. So what do you think would be the better move to do? Would you rather pair up with like your ally, or do you think it was better to go the Leroy and Cam route of splitting up to kind of hedge your bets a little bit?
I actually think where you can see what the challenge is, and if you trust you and your partner's complementary like if you believe that you and your partner add up to more than the sum of your pieces,
Hmm.
you should pair up in this context, I think. Because pairs like there were enough teams where it'd be one thing if it was two big teams, then
Right.
definitely split up.
Yeah.
But pairs, I think just stick together.
Yeah, and it's still early on, so there's still a lot of pairs left. Like I think there was
Exactly.
10 or 11 teams competing, so there was like the one winner. So all you need to do is just not finish in the bottom five, and then you'll be
Exactly.
completely safe. So it's not like just the one winner and like everyone else is up for grabs. Like you really only just had to like not suck basically as a pair. Especially for like Cam and Leroy. Cam, Leroy's obviously like help with the physical, demanding running, and Cam's very smart doing the puzzle. So I was surprised to see them split up. I thought they would have wanted to stick together and work together, especially being a double elimination. Like it almost even makes it more important to like make sure you're both fully safe than like one of you being out and then still opens up the target. So it was just interesting to see like the differing pairs kind of come together.
Yeah,
Um,
Avery, who knew? Avery and Adam.
yeah,
Wild.
Avery and Adam was an interesting setup. Let's like some of the other ones like Ace and Kara, I thought was also kind of interesting. Um, yeah, like so Cam and Leroy split up. So Cam went with Ryan and Leroy went with Flora. So Laurel and Brandon. I think Laurel was like strongly rooting for Brandon in the elimination like a couple weeks ago or last week as well. So I think that kind of checks out. I don't know. It was interesting to see some of like if there actually are friends kind of developing. But we didn't really get just a couple of the key sound points about where people stood. But I would have liked to see the picking a little bit more, how that kind of went down.
Agreed. I was gonna say it's hard with so many people because like you couldn't pay me to tell you who like Brad was paired up with.
Right.
Is Brad there?
Rachel. Yeah,
Oh,
Rachel.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, because they kept going so quickly. They were like, show a pair. I was trying to write them all down, and they were like zoom past it and like yada yada. I was like, come on, I gotta take notes here. Can we go a little bit
Yeah.
slower, please? You know, a little, could take it to it. So yeah, so you weren't. I didn't mind the challenge as much, but I understand your frustration because it did seem like to come out of nowhere when all of a sudden Avery and Adam just won. It was like, oh, cool, Avery and Adam won. There was
Yeah,
no like
exactly.
build up. to
Yeah.
see like, oh, they're doing so well. So yeah, I totally get that. Of like, there was no sense of who was doing well at the time, who was doing poorly. It just kind of just happened. Like Avery
Yeah.
and Adam get the win.
I believe Miles Nye, who I'm sure you've heard of, he was formerly a challenge designer on Survivor. I don't
Mhm.
think he is anymore, or a consultant or something of that kind. He had, I can't remember. I shouldn't have even brought this up because I can't really bring it to fruition. But he basically like has a theory and explanation for like a well-designed challenge and like
Mm.
how it should end to feel satisfying, both like visually and emotionally. And this challenge like violated every rule.
Yeah, it's tough because I still find the ones where like if in the, like the pairs if they had to do like every pair goes one at a time, those then feel super repetitive. So it's like I don't know what the right
That's true.
balance is of how to like get that satisfying win. I guess like the best way to do is like 2 or 3 teams that where you're only seeing things play out 2 or 3 times total. Because it's like I don't know how to. I don't. I'd rather this, I guess, than like seeing them do it one at a time. I don't know, but yeah, this wasn't a satisfying way to see Avery get her win. So
Yeah.
we need something better. But I get, and then on the way out, I guess Ayanna kind of forgets that everyone's mic'd up and talking all the time because Ayanna lays out a plan. I think specifically talking to Flora, but a lot of people, specifically Brandon, was in earshot.
I thought
She's
she was
telling,
talking to Cyrus.
could have been Cyrus, could have been Cyrus. I could be wrong. Talking to
I
someone
think it
about,
I think
yeah,
it was because I think it matters that he had no reason to think that she was telling something not true because he hadn't even been there. So he just was like,
right.
"Cool, that's the plan." And then he kind of carried that forward and then it spiraled.
That would make sense because she was probably like catching him up as to like what happened the first 2 votes, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna split up Leroy and Cam." That's what the
I
house
think that is my speculation.
Yeah, but again, like if you're gonna have that type of conversation, maybe wait till you're back at the house so you can pull someone in private. And but Ayanna's sloppy player. Holds no bounds, and it's kind of caught her up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then swore on her children.
Yeah, a lot of swearing. Brandon and
Interesting.
Jasmine certainly jumped on this in the conversation when the word gets to them and everything about how like this is what Ayanna wants to do. I think even like people that wanted to work with Ayanna are now worried about how sloppy she is being, and they don't want to go against Cam and Leroy, knowing how well connected they are. So this really started the slippery slope for Ayanna of like having basically sealed her fate of having like no alliances in the house. Like anyone that she possibly really could have had was ready to jump ship on her, at least for like the voting perspective for sure.
Yeah. And the thing is too, her underlying logic isn't wrong. And I wouldn't be
No.
surprised if there were murmurings of like, eventually we have a big problem we have to deal with, which is Leroy and Cam.
Yeah.
And like those are viable, those are real considerations at play for the other people, but not the time. Now is
Yeah.
not it. And not the
Not
way
the
to handle
time.
it, to your point.
Not the time. And I think not the person to bring it up. I think just because of what happened also last week with Ayanna, like getting people fired up with the Janelle thing. I think if this was someone else a little more calmer bringing up like, oh, like Leroy and Cam, not only are they literally married, but like they're two of the stronger people in the game individually. Like that's a big problem. So like I think if that was someone maybe like a Derek or like a Ryan who is a little more perceived as level-headed and can like explain the situation a little calmer and not as kind of frenetically as Ayanna was doing it, maybe that could have gone over a little bit better. But Ayanna's not gonna have someone do her work for her. She's like has an
Mhm.
idea and she's gonna go full throttle to try to make it happen.
Yeah, and she also is she's in social capital debt. You
Yes.
know, like she's not even neutral anymore. Like she's accruing very fast is in the negative. And so it's just all bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that term, social capital debt. Yeah, because that's where she certainly was by the end of this episode for sure. A couple of people that I think had like social capital, if they wanted to try to make something of it, were Cyrus and Kefla. Maybe not Cyrus because as you mentioned, like coming in late, like it seemed pretty obvious that he was probably going to go in, but I feel like Kefla had like the respect of some people that if he tried to make a push for someone else to go in, obviously like for the bottom for the men, it was Leroy, Cyrus, Kefla, Derek, and Brad. Like there's a pitch to be made to get Brad in. Obviously, maybe like Derek, like he has a few connections, not as many, but he kind of rolled over a little bit. And I was surprised to see that of him being so willing to go in against Cyrus.
Yeah, I wonder how I guess I'm just trying to like put myself in the shoes of someone who is so far out from the modern game,
Mm-hmm.
and he might be feeling some form of like an imposter syndrome, right? And I could see him feeling like, if I just kind of take my lumps, if I kind of fall on the sword early
Right.
here, and people are like, this guy's good natured, he's down, he's going to play, he gets the game mechanics, like he's cool.
Right.
And prove that like he's not a relic that doesn't understand the game. He like knows what needs to be done, whatever. Like I
Yeah.
could see him actually thinking like, let me just play along for a bit here.
Yeah, and also like showing what a force he could be, and not someone that you want to go up against. Like I think if if there is someone like a Leroy again down there, Cam's going to do everything in her power to make sure Leroy's not going up against him in elimination. Or if someone else has a friend and that's up for grabs, they're not going to want to see them go up against Kefla, especially after his showing this time. So,
Yeah.
and even to your point earlier, like this is a little bit more of like the fantasy campish challenge. Like I think for Kefla coming in and for all these years, not of wanting to maybe get his hands dirty and actually like just if he's going to go out, like have fun doing it. Maybe there's an aspect of like, I'm here, I might never ever do this again. This could be fun to go against my buddy in an elimination and like see how it goes. So
Yeah. He's
I could
also
see someone
king
for
of
that.
analogies. Back to
Mhm.
back. The 23andMe analogy and then like the divorced parent with a new boyfriend. That was
Yes.
great.
That was very good. That was very good. Um, yeah, so I mean, Cyrus and Kefla seem to be pretty content going in on the night out. This is kind of where things start escalating for Ayanna. Cam gets the word to her that Ayanna's making the pitch to try to get Leroy going in, and obviously Cam's not going to take that lying down. So she wants to start rallying the troops about how to kind of going against her. Laurel, I feel like was trying to check on Ayanna, but also like trying to like stir her up a little bit. What was the vibe you got from how Laurel was checking in, quote unquote,
I
on
mean,
Ayanna?
Laurel at her core is a shit stirrer. Do you
Yeah.
remember her from early seasons?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she was a big shit
She
stirrer.
was scary, honestly.
Vicious.
Yeah,
Vicious.
really mean.
Yeah.
And so I don't, and I think that she is, you know, I use this loosely. I think she, as well as others, like a Bananas, like a Wes, whatever, can self-produce a little bit, and
Oh yeah.
I just think she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she's been around the block. It's like I mean, she first appeared, on TV 12, 13 years ago at this point. So she knows what she's doing about how to make the best moment and how to get people going. And I think she definitely got Ayanna going about like how to like get ready to defend yourself. Like people are coming for you. I think she kind of knew exactly what she was doing. But Cam, has the one on one with Ayanna, ask her straight up like what she's doing, and Ayanna denies it. Just straight up, it's
Full denial.
bring in the people, show me the receipts, show me who the people are, and really went overboard trying to deny what her motives were.
Do you think this was like a "doth protest too much" response? How would you have responded?
Yeah, I mean that's how Cam definitely read it by the end of the situation. It was very similar to from season 39 when Nerys was pressed a little bit. I think who was it? Colleen pressed Nerys about like, oh, who are you actually going against? Are you really working with Jay? And she went so over the top to like be like, this is not true. How could you say such a thing? And usually when you do that, there is some truth behind it. I think this one there's even more truth than the Nerys thing, but she went way over the top. And I think it was very smart from Brandon and anyone else involved. Like, be like, I don't know what she's talking about. I'm not going to get involved. Very smart to not stick your head in that business. So good job from Brandon knowing when to keep quiet.
Yeah, definitely. I think that showed some social nuance on his part.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a great clip. All of a sudden, Jasmine gets brought into it. I don't even know what Ayanna was saying to get Jasmine into it, but we get an all-time Jasmine confessional saying the bride of Chucky's coming out in her. So she was great. People were asking who are their favorite kind of confessional givers. Is anyone for you kind of stood out? Obviously, Jasmine here. Anyone else from this group standing out for you as like the top confessional giver?
Well, like I said with Kefla and the analogies, I think he's doing
Mhm.
great. He's
Yeah.
like, you need, as much as you need the quips, I think you need storytellers, and I think he's really able to convey, like he's able to convey dynamics. He can tell a story. I
Yep.
think he's good at that.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people on this season are very good at doing is like the narration of and making it feel like natural of because
Hmm.
obviously a lot of these people have been on TV for a while, so they are doing a very good job of moving the story along in their confessionals and not feeling so forced and produced. Basically, I think they are able to kind of like have their own personality in their confessionals. It's not as hand scripted from production. That's what it feels
Yeah.
like at least, which is good. Let's see. So we get Jasmine and Ayanna going at each other again. No one really knows exactly what they're kind of really talking about, but very funny there. Rachel and Tina are a couple of the people who are sticking by Ayanna. They get her to calm down. Um, what do you make of them? More like I guess privately. How did you feel like Rachel that the BFF crew? I don't think we saw Veronica really involved, but just Rachel and Tina. How do you think they handled showing at least Ayanna their support a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that's a when you like that's like a kid gloves
Hmm.
situation where you are dismantling a bomb, and you know that you just need to bring like, you are here, I want you here,
Yeah.
to just bring it down.
Yeah.
And I think Rachel does a masterful job, and I think Rachel has full plausible deniability as to what that conversation like meant in terms of an
Hmm.
alliance. If somebody came to her and was like, you talked her off a cliff, you must be working with her, I'd be like, no, I just needed the temperature to go down for everyone. And so I think it was really well handled.
Because we saw Ayanna mention, I think again to Laurel about how like the one person she wouldn't want to go up against is Rachel, and obviously with the ball rolling so strongly that Ayanna's going to go in. What could Rachel do to not like piss Ayanna off in the situation, but like try to like disconnect herself from Ayanna and be like, well, she might want to like go with like work with me, but I'm not really working with her because if she's so connected to her, obviously the house is going to want to put them against each other, Rachel and Ayanna. So what do you think Rachel could do to try to separate herself from try to separate herself from Ayanna to keep herself out of that elimination? If there's anything she could have done.
I mean, I think her presence in the elimination had more to do with put someone very strong
Hmm.
against Ayanna to ensure removal.
Yeah.
And I think that was Cam's point, that Flora makes it a coin flip, potentially with a slight favoring of Ayanna.
Yep.
And so I think it less had to do with the relationship than the guaranteed win that Rachel seemed to ensure.
Yeah, that is what it seemed like, and that's really what Cam kind of pushed at the nomination. So they started off with the men, and again, like there really was no vote. They
Yeah,
both everyone just kind of said
I
Cyrus and
literally thought I
Kefla.
missed it. I was like, "What
Yeah,
just happened?"
they were just like they're okay going in. Anyone object, and no one objected. So Cyrus and Kefla going in. For the women though, this is where there is some intrigue. Obviously, everyone's on board with the vote for Ayanna, but Cam makes the strong pitch about wanting to get Rachel in, and it basically says to everyone like, if you don't go with my vote, this is like a personal attack to me. And I feel like this is where there's like some polarization with Cam of like again like that mafia boss. It's very similar to what we saw with Veronica the week before to Avery, or I was Tina to Avery, being like, if you don't vote with us, who knows what might happen? I don't know. It could be something very bad for you. But we are
Yeah.
seeing the very strong pressure being forced in some of these votes, which we'll see if it comes back to bite anyone. We'll see if it comes back to bite Cam.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, Kara was the one of the. I mean, there was no key vote. It seemed like it was pretty. It was I think it was like 5-2-1. So like Rachel was going to get the votes anyway, but Kara was like the one the edit kind of focused on about where she was going to go. Obviously, Kara coming in with a star. She's playing a little bit differently now that she has one. How do you think she should go about like keeping the star? Is there anything you would do if you had a star so early on? Like, what would be your move to try to keep the target off you, basically, if you're Cara or anyone?
So I think Cara does a good job here because her logic has to be that I think Cara could not have guessed that Rachel was going to take Tina's star.
Hmm.
I think her guess was that Rachel would take her star and give
Yep.
it to Veronica. And so that's why I think Cara was trying to plant the seeds of like a star holder alliance, like
Yeah.
two strong women. Let's keep both our stars. You agree that there's this strategy that we have to think about that others don't. And like we're on the same page with that, right?
Hmm.
And so that had to be her logic. I would bet she was surprised with what ends up happening.
Hmm.
And she brings up some interesting points or some questions that I really hadn't considered. Can a woman take a man's star? And can
Yep.
you just say no thanks? I don't
Yep.
want to star at all.
Yeah, those are a couple of the key points that they didn't fully lay out. They also clarified fully that like the winner of each daily can't have their star stolen as well. Like that, you're like there's like an extra safety bucket of like the winner of the daily, their star is completely safe, and like the
Yeah.
middle group is where things can be stolen. So there was some clarity there, but yeah, there was some debate about what you could do. Can you just pass on taking a star? And things. What do you make of even the star twist? Do you like this format, the structure? It's a little. The only similar thing is like from the island back in the day. Like, what do you
Oh,
make so
God.
far of the star format?
No, I like it. I think it's a pretty good way to do it. I'm a little confused by the way, and maybe it's just because I'm not devoting full focus to these episodes as they
Hmm.
air. But I am a little confused by how everyone keeps saying like you need a star, but then I've also heard people say everyone needs to go into an elimination. And then I'm just a little confused. And if Avery could have gone down to get her star back, does she get to choose who to tag out? Like, can she say I want Ayanna?
So that would be our assumption. I think basically you could like choose. I think yeah, you would choose who you want to take out and like go in against. If you, I would
Okay,
assume you haven't seen it play out yet, obviously, but I would assume like yeah, you could pick who you want to replace in the elimination. So maybe if someone is going against Jasmine, like you can replace the other person, and then Avery can go against Jasmine and get maybe like an easy win.
got it.
Um, but yeah, that's the next phase that we haven't really seen play out yet, and just because of how easily the stars can get stolen, I don't think we're going to see that play out until at least until we get much closer to the
Yeah,
final.
there's
It doesn't
no
seem
need to
any
do it now.
advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
So
I mean, I almost think that is why Tina just like kind of laughs off what happens
yeah,
because you have to understand that there's going to be so much flux in the beginning that like kind of who cares? Like everything's going to get shuffled. But
yeah,
if
and
you can steal from a man, does that mean you could have a 5 women and 1 man fine? Like what are the contours of this? I don't
so
understand.
I
Whatever.
think if you steal from a man, you have to give it to another man. Like I think it has to always be
Oh,
three
okay.
men and 3 women. So you could
Okay.
steal from whoever you want, but you have to give it to like the same sex grouping.
But
So it has to be
frankly,
3 and 3.
if the final is an individual game, why?
It's a good point. And maybe when it gets down to it, maybe at some point they'll clear it out, and it doesn't have to be 3 men, 3 women. Maybe they're like doing it right now just for even purposes. But there is no particular reason why it has to be 3 men, 3 women if it is individual.
Right, because I guess for now you need to keep some level of parity for the eliminations.
Right.
Okay,
Right. For like the
but
guys' day, because yeah, usually it would switch off. So maybe they're keeping that. But maybe when it gets down to it, it's like, all right, you can actually just steal from
free for
anyone at
all.
this point. Yeah, I can easily see that happening. Totally.
Yeah, yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So Ayanna obviously going in. Rachel gets the votes. Cam disappointed by Kara's vote not to go along with it.
So disappointed.
Um,
How dare you do this to me?
yeah,
This is
Cam.
not what a friend does, Brian.
Not what a friend does, especially because the vote had absolutely no consequence. So how
Seriously, I
dare?
wrote Cam relax.
Yeah, how damn Kara have a mind of her own. and not go with what Cam wants. Yeah, but yeah, so this we get the elimination set up. It's those four going in. We get down to it. It's called Down the Tube. Like variation of Hall Brawl a little bit. Everyone there, each person is in a giant tube with a ball in the middle. I mean, if you push your opponent out, best 2 out of 3. They start with the men with Kefla and Cyrus, and Kefla dominated, and it's just an incredible showing, especially round 1. Took it like
I
10
mean,
seconds.
the weight difference is so huge here.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know what you could really do. I think Cyrus probably had the best strategy you can think of just basically trying to like hold your ground and tire him out. But there was no tiring Kefla out. He was a
Yeah.
man on a mission.
I'm trying to think if there's any advantage to, like, what does a like height differential or kind of like center of gravity difference do you? Like, would it be worth it at all to like sit down and push back? Like, I'm just trying to think creatively. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of, but I don't know. I think it was they had to get the ball and the person out. The only thing I could think of was like if you kind of like rope a dope them where you're holding it so strongly, and then if you back off the ball, then they could push it and maybe they lose their balance, and then you can push them back the other way. But I think if you push the ball out, you win anyway. So I don't know exactly how you can do it. I think it's just this is just a strictly like whoever's the bigger person size wise
Those are
is
tough.
going to win. So that's what make for the men. It seemed like it was going to be no contest. For the women, though, it seemed like Ayanna and Rachel was going to be a pretty fair fight. I think because Ayanna was probably like size wise a little bigger than Rachel, but obviously Rachel with the fitness probably
Is
maybe
really strong. She's
more
ripped.
muscular. Yeah. So I thought we would have a much closer battle there. And I think we probably did, especially compared to the men. But Rachel showing why Rachel Fitness. If you want to get like Rachel, like sign up for
Yeah, I
her
was gonna say.
classes.
Shit, do I need to sign
she
up?
knows, she knows what she's doing. But yeah, Rachel, for first elimination in I don't know, probably 10 years, if not more, and she's showing exactly what she's made of.
Yeah, she's great. I really like her.
Yeah. It's a Rachel dominates, knocks out Ayanna. Very sad to see her go. Ayanna was really again like the star of the show. We'll see if we see her
Burns
again
too
after
brightly.
everything that came down. But yeah, so we say goodbye to Cyrus, who was here for not even a full episode. Quickly say goodbye to him, and we say goodbye to Ayanna. Any final thoughts on either of them as we say goodbye to those two?
I mean, Ayanna needs to come back and just be completely compliant. Like, that's her only path forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've totally learned my lesson.
Yeah.
I need to listen more. I want to hear what you guys think. I was so headstrong. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, that's her only way to return with any
Mm-hmm.
level of success.
How believable do you think that could be, though? Do you think people would take her at her word, or do you think it'll take almost an entire another season of her doing that, and then like the season after that, people might be more into her, or do you think that it's something that you can kind of turn around so quickly, or is her
I
social
actually think
debt so bad at this point?
I think she could turn it around where just on the first vote, like, you literally just say, like, tell me what to do. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
loyal to you. I have no opinions.
Yeah.
Like, be a little more subtle, but like something like that, I think would be fine and would get you at least past the first few rounds. I don't know that it's like a game winner, but it'll keep you in it longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be very interesting to see if she comes back, what changes. For Cyrus, I mean, again, he was kind of fodder. He comes in late. He's probably automatically going to go in. It was bummer to see him go so quickly. Maybe next season, hopefully, if he gets the call, he's on the full cast, so he's able to like
Mhm.
build those relationships. But tough to see
He's like a
Cyrus
good
go.
presence. He seems like a nice
Yeah,
person.
no, absolutely. I mean, he's done pretty well on his other All Star appearances, so it was almost surprising he was an alternate, as opposed to just being on the full cast. But like you said, when you come in late, it's very tough. You're gonna have to like win an elimination early, especially or even a couple to kind of keep your place. But so we go say goodbye there. So Kefla gets his win, gets to steal a star. So obviously Adams was safe, so we can choose between. We just he stole Brad's, and then he could choose Brad's or Steve's. But so I think he mentioned he had a pretty good friendship with Steve at that point. So for him, it seemed like a no brainer to take
Yeah.
Brad's.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
and Brad has the question of like, did you really think this through? I mean, there was no choice. I don't know. Sorry,
Yeah,
Brad.
exactly.
No, you can
Like,
do
did you just want him
more.
to say no thanks? Like, I'll fight another day for a different star. I just love
Yeah,
you so much. Like, no.
no, nothing you can do. Kefla gets his star, well earned. And then the intrigue here, Rachel obviously already has a star, so we get some clarification. She straight up asks TJ, "Am I allowed to say no to stealing a star?" Very glad to hear the answer to that is no, because that's for
Yes.
television purposes quite boring.
Yeah.
If you could just pass, so has to steal a star. What did you think she was going to do before her ultimate decision of taking Tina's? What did you think was going to happen?
So I think it depends on. So I actually don't think she had like a lot of. She didn't have a great option
No.
because Kara is someone who would throw herself in a millisecond, like wouldn't think twice. Like she'll
Yep.
just go back in. I think that Kara has such a physical advantage over like a huge majority of women
Hmm.
that like I think she would get it back quickly. And I don't think a lot of people are going to want to necessarily like call her out her own. Like she'll hold her own just fine. I think you then have to consider Tina is someone who is an easy person to call down to take.
Hmm.
Oh,
No, you're good.
are you there?
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
and I
just
think I do think she is it was smart. I think it was smart. It looks a little weird optically, but I think it's smart.
yeah. No, it's genius. It's something I didn't even think was gonna happen. I fully was expecting her to take Steve's, and I was like, What man is she gonna give it to? I was writing on the list. I don't know, like what she might have done is maybe she would just give it to someone like a Ryan or a Derek, just because they're like an easy one that they would just take it back from. I was like, I don't know what she's gonna do. Um, It was very, very smart. I felt like that to take it from Tina. I hope. Obviously, they're not going to tip their hand and show this scene, but I hope in next week's episode we get the flashback to see the conversation that Rachel, Veronica, and Tina had of Rachel being like, "Look, if I win, I'm going to take your star. I hope you're okay with that." I want to see that conversation play out because obviously Tina was okay with it based off of her reaction, but I would
Yeah.
love to see how they discussed it. So I'm hoping we see that in the beginning of next week episode.
Yeah, that'd be a nice little sepia toned flashback.
Yes, yes, but it was very, very good to see, and we also got to see in case there's another double elimination. Because I thought, oh, but can she just like steal Kefla's star and give it to someone else? But I guess when you win the star for that particular day, you can't have it be stolen right after you. I was wondering,
Yeah,
like,
that seems fair.
yeah, which I think is fair because then it's like he just happened to pick first, and then like
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
Rachel picked first, so we got that clarity. So I think we have like most of the clarity played out. The only thing we haven't seen play out yet, to your point, is like a winner of the daily throwing themselves in, how that plays out. So that's the next phase at some point. I'm sure we will see a daily winner putting themselves into
Yeah.
elimination, but not yet.
Yeah, I think when you steal from Kara as late as possible,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
early.
yeah, because you don't want Cara to like have any ill will. I think because I think there's a very good chance she's going to win and win a daily and want to put herself into elimination again. I think it was Cam calling this like a scared move from Rachel.
Get
I think
out.
this was a
Get
smart
out.
move. Like it's a very smart move, especially for someone like Rachel who probably could just beat Cara if she has to do it come elimination time. I think this is someone else who needs things to play out perfectly to win. I think Rachel can beat Cara in an elimination, in a final, in whatever she might need to. So she should be playing safe just to get to the end and not trying to create enemies. So I totally disagree with what Cam's kind of attitude was coming out of that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So there we go. That's episode 3. We've got 4 people gone. Moving along.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Anything else from this episode that we didn't touch on that, or any overall All Stars thoughts that you've had so far?
No, we covered
Okay.
everything.
Yeah. The other bit in the challenge world, I definitely want to get your take on is so All Stars 5. I think like the availability calls or something's going around for All Stars 5, and the word is that CBS people might be getting called for the All Stars version. Obviously, there was CBS Challenge USA. CBS people have made the jump to Challenge proper. What are your thoughts on incorporating CBS people into the All Stars franchise? Do you like that? Do you wish there was more separation of church and state? How are you? What is your thoughts on that as a CBS alumni yourself?
I kind of don't love it. I don't know. It's weird. Because I think that we are moving into the reality landscape that we are moving into, to me, is very analogous to, and traders, it fits it perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
is MMA, where traders is saying you've got the gamers,
Mm-hmm.
you've got the kind of like docu-reality people, like the living life people, and then you've got like the love people. And it's the same thing as like, what's the best martial art? Is it
Yeah.
jujitsu? Is it taekwondo? Like, let's see let's put them against each other and see who comes out on top. Like, what's the deadliest version of gameplay?
Yeah.
And it also, I think, lays bare that like all this stuff is games. Housewives is games. Bachelor is games. All of it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that like I accept, this is to say I accept that tide. Like I'm on that wave. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's where we're moving. And yet I really like the idea that this is, and you know what? I don't know, because I'm sure, networks are in a tough position where like they need to satisfy new viewers as much as old ones. They need to be bringing in a new audience. Like they can't just rely on those of us who have nostalgia for season
Right.
5 of the challenge. It's not fair to put them over a barrel like that and be like, this is pure. This is for just this segment of the population that can like get value out of nostalgia. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not a legitimate position. And so is it my first choice? No, I would prefer it's this sort of like callback of these
Right.
folks that are kind of forgottens, but whatever. AI is going to make reality in 5 years anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, no, I totally hear you, and I agree. It's not my first instinct was like, oh, this sucks. Like CBS people have like their own platforms. Like Challenge USA is like the CBS platform. Obviously, they were making their move onto proper. All Stars was generated to your point of like the old school people coming back, but if it's gonna All Stars is gonna continue seasons 5, 6, 7, like there's more slots to fill. Like, you put someone like Jay or Michelle on the poster, I'm sure that attracts more people being, oh look, Michelle's on another show. Let me go watch her. Let me sign up for Paramount Plus. So let me go watch her there. So, you know, it's not, again, it wouldn't be my first choice, but
Yeah.
this is the challenge landscape. There's all these different shows. People are gonna cross promote. They're gonna be all over the place. Everything's kind of blending together, and it's like you have these platforms, and they're gonna pop up everywhere.
And to the point you just made with there being like, we have to round out a cast. We are sitting here with no clue of how many old school players actually want to show up to do this.
Right.
And so like they might have a numbers problem.
Mm-hmm.
And like who knows? Who knows what their constraints are? And so I would rather them keep making television than be like, shit, we're out of people.
100%. And look, they're not just filling. It's not just 16 slots, not 18 slots. Challenge seasons could be 30 people, 40 people. Sometimes there's a lot of people they got to
It's
fill.
absurd.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of names they got to call. So CBS, maybe you'll challenge All Stars 5. Maybe keep your phone on sound. Maybe you'll get the call.
Excuse me, I
We'll
have to
see.
go. No, literally, they would never, they have never, they would never.
Oh man. Well, you never know. You
I
never
would
know.
only get there if I got in Desi's suitcase. That's my only
Perfect.
path to the challenge.
Come along as a challenge plus one season, something like that. And
Yeah.
be right there. But this is so great. It's so nice to have you joining us here. Thank you so much. Any other final thoughts you have on the kind of challenge franchise or any other franchise? Any other trader hot takes you want to drop? Anything else?
I mean, have you watched the UK traders where it's all like normal people?
I watched the first season. I haven't watched the
Oh,
second season yet, but I heard
oh,
it's very
watch
good.
season 2.
Yes,
Season
I
2 is
heard.
unreal.
Yes,
Yeah.
my mom is
And
saying it's
then
very good.
I've not continued. I need to pick it up. I started Australia traders. I literally just want a 24/7 feed of traders. But there is a psychic which is a recurring trope in normal person traders. There's often like
Right.
a psychic and they're like, I can read your aura, and it's like giving trader. But the psychic on Australia and the blaze of glory that
Wow.
she's a kook. It's so
Okay.
good.
All right. You're selling me. I gotta check it out.
Yeah.
I read the US ones are great. The UK one was great too. So all right. UK 2, Australia, they're on my list.
Yeah, the traders pipeline is US, UK, Australia, New Zealand.
Okay.
You just gotta consume it all.
Perfect. And where are you on? And I know you used to have a podcast. Is that still cooking at all, or is that to
Yeah,
plug that?
so my friend and I, a girlfriend and I, are doing a rewatch podcast of the HBO show Girls.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
Great.
where we were the character, like we are the characters' age.
Mm-hmm.
Where like when the show was airing, we were their age, living in New York,
Yep.
and had a lot of feelings about how we related to the show, what it was like to be a young woman in your 20s in New York, etc. And now we are obviously 11 years have passed. We're now in our 30s. And we feel like very differently about the show. And so we're kind of like talking about it, comparing it, like what it was like to watch it in real time versus how it feels now, like what's different about it. And yeah, it's called Girls.
Good name.
And thank you. And weirdly, like we do no advertising, like we really don't push it in any
Mm-hmm.
way. We literally are just kind of like, we're doing it for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls subreddit found out about it. And we have like a
Nice.
couple like evangelists that always like say really nice things about us. That
Oh, I
there
love
is,
that.
you can't please everyone though. There's always a couple people that are like, they talk about themselves too much. The person's always like, I don't care about your job or your husband. It's like, okay.
Can't
Thanks.
please everyone. Can't do it.
Exactly.
All right. Is it on what? Spotify, all podcast
Yeah.
networks?
All the
All
stuff. Yeah. It's
right.
called
Check out
Girls.
Girls.
It's like a green thing with a little cartoon, whatever.
Nice. All right. Check that out. You can check out me on TikTok at Challenge Wrap Up. Twitter, Cohen _. Check out Ali Lash tweets. Check out New Girl Old Guy. They're coming to the closing out season 6, I think there. So close to coming to an end there. Check that out. We'll be back next week for episode 4. Thanks again, Rourke. This was so much fun. Always a blast to talk to you.
My
Until next
pleasure.
week, have a good one.